With my bench boost active for game week 32 and one massive differential transfer in mind, let's take a deep dive in today's transfer plans video. Kicking off today's transfer plans video, of course, we look at the previous week's score to see if there are any problems we need to identify and solve within the transfer plans section in the next part of the video. Of course, if you're new around here, definitely go ahead and subscribe for future FPL content and, of course, deadline streams. But getting straight into things, for game week 31 we scored a total of 56 points, which is really good for me. Of course, getting close now up towards that 200k mark, and hopefully by the end of the season we can beat last season's rank, which I got, which was around 142,000th in the world, I believe. So fingers crossed we can get up there, but I won't be getting up there if I keep picking the wrong captain. Mo Salah blanks again, but at least the rest of the crowd who went Alexander Isak captain had the same fate with his blank against a really weak Leicester side. Overall with the team, I'm pretty happy with how I lined up. Of course, Semenyo over Sarr should have been how I went about it, with Semenyo picking up that assist and getting that 6-pointer. But the likes of Evan Nielsen, Eze, Gvardiol, Trippier and Pope all contributing with the defensive and attacking returns. The real issues within the squad are really just at Gabriel right now. Of course, he's out for the rest of the season. Arsenal's defence don't look as great without him. But overall, we're going to bench boost in 32. So let's move on to the next section of the video where we take a look at my transfer plans for game week 32 onwards. For game week 32, of course, I'm going to activate that bench boost chip. And just to keep in mind, I have 2 free transfers at this point, but I only really need to be using one on Gabriel to fully utilize the bench boost chip this game week. And of course, I'm thinking about bringing in a hugely differential player for this particular game week. And we'll get onto that in just a second. Just a quick overview, of course, on the team for game week 32. We have Palace and Newcastle both doubling, so Pope and Henderson, both my keepers, having 2 fixtures this game week, as well as Isak, Sarr, Eze, Trippier as well. So things are looking pretty decent. Of course, Palmer, Salah, Gvardiol, Evan Nielsen, all with pretty decent fixtures too. I suppose you could say the same with Saliba, but of course, with Gabriel being injured, the Arsenal defence doesn't look as great as it did before. But let's go on to the differential player now. Gabriel out for 1 free transfer and moving into Connor Bradley. It is a very high-risk pick, in my opinion. Of course, we need sort of press conference information and sort of updates on the Liverpool squad, because Curtis Jones has been filling in that position for a few weeks now, I believe 2 or 3 weeks. So Connor Bradley needs to, I need to know if Connor Bradley is definitely going to be available for this fixture. It seems that his minutes are going to be a bit better according to Fantasy Football Hub and predictions all around. And with West Ham and then Leicester, then Spurs in his next 3, at 0.3% ownership, I think he could be a really decent buy for my particular strategy going forward. Now, what that will look like for future game weeks is this. So game week 33, Trippier with a difficult fixture against Aston Villa. I think it is a no-brainer that Bradley starts over him. And then, of course, with Henderson having a double game week after the last week double, back-to-back doubles is really fantastic for Crystal Palace. Of course, Pope would come out and then Henderson would go in. Despite the fixtures, not being as great as Pope's, you could say and argue, it's still 2 fixtures instead of 1. So again, a really decent team for the game week. And then as we get into game week 34, this is when the transfers I have saved up will come into play. Of course, no free hit chip available this week forces me into making some smart moves with the 3 free transfers I'll have available for the game week. A really obvious one that I think I'll make regardless is Milenkovic of Forest over Saliba. Now, the rest of the transfers I'm kind of still undecided on. Obviously, Guardiola will have to make his way to the bench in replace of Ismail Assar, because Ismail Assar is probably the player I would look to get rid of. I do quite like the look of Matoma for this game week and getting him back into the squad. And then overall, you've got a decent 11 going into game week 31 with one free transfer remaining. And ideally, I would like to improve someone on the bench, so at least there's one person of bench cover for this particular game week. But overall, that's sort of the plan for the next few game weeks. I suppose we'll go back and kind of overview everything really quickly. So the game week 32 transfer would be Connor Bradley in, looking to captain Alexander Isak. I do believe he is probably the best captain to pick. Of course, we have to keep an eye on that small knock he has. He did come off early against Leicester, which was a bit of a worry, but of course that is just a precautionary move. They want to keep him fit for the rest of the season to guarantee that Champions League place. Of course, vice-captain on Eze, I do believe he's probably the second best captain of the game week, with again a double game week. We move on to game week 33. Captaincy might fall upon Marmoush for this game week. A lot of people will probably go ahead who have Saka and captain him this game week. The reason I haven't got Saka for this game week is because in game week 34, of course, I don't have the luxury of the free hit. And if I do that transfer, game week 34 will be a mess and I'll only have 10 players available unless I take a -4 hit. It might be worth it if we really assume that Saka captaincy is going to be the best option, hands down. He gets full 90 minutes each week, but I still think that's a doubt. There's Champions League fixtures to play. They're very, very important for Arsenal, in my opinion, because the title race, it's just not in their reach whatsoever. And then, of course, for game week 34, 2 out of the 3 transfers, I've kind of made my mind up sort of already, with Milenkovic and Matoma perhaps coming in as well. But overall, those are the transfer plans for game week 32 in FPL with that bench boost chip active for the game week. A huge thank you for watching today's video, and of course, if you did enjoy today's video, make sure you click the like button, and if you aren't yet subscribed to the channel, go ahead and click that sub button for future FPL content and deadline streams. But that is absolutely everything for today's video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.